I too started out with Audrey and Rich, and I feel very disturbed, and I feel the loss of her. She was I had never quite said that before, but she's probably the most important poet for me ever. I started reading her about a year before I became a poet, and this poem is like I have two book-length poems. Hard Country was the first one, and then South America Mija, which this is Mija right there. And this is when she was 15. We went by bus to Machu Picchu from Mendocino, and that's what it is. And it's an account of it. I'll read one poem if I have time. But I was diving in the wreck. It made me a poet, and it made me a feminist. But I had a son, and for all the reasons, I had boyfriends, and I didn't become a lesbian, but I lived in the midst of a lesbian community, Albion, California, and was very informed and very empowered by that experience. So this is pretty much the first poem. There's like two or three that are the first poems that I wrote that began this long book called Hard Country, a book-length poem. And it's called Love Song for a Man Whose Mother Killed Herself. And even now, it's a little bit too derivative, I think, of Adrian's diving into the wreck. But I've never been able to change it, so here it is. Your open mouth like the ocean, where you allow me swimming. Beneath all things, the Bible says, are the waters. But men don't open this way. They are the ships headed for some horizon, the rescuers. Dragging the lake for days for her body, you said. You have opened yourself so wide, you are the water your mother drowned in. She lies at the bottom of you, the dark, deep water that covers you. I see her face, sleeping with open eyes, looking toward the sun. I am wanting the secret of this watery garden, the secret the leaves hide and the wind, call it the world, the secret she would not live without. It is deep going between here and the new country. In the night we are seen waving back to the shore. Voices call for us. I emerge over your body to see the earth in light. You have opened to me. You are the first man who has ever opened to me. Somehow you have made yourself the man she would not live without. So, so that book becomes a travel to that lake where she drowned herself, where it sort of climaxes. And I also picked out for this reading a lot of mother poems, which seemed appropriate, and most of them are new. But this one was also was from then, and it's him also, and it's called, and it's my most republished poem. It shows up on Mother's Day cards. My mother is a poem I will never write. He couldn't wait to meet my mother. He kept saying, you'll never know who your woman is until you meet her mother. He said it so often, he angered me. He, a safe orphan with his mother self-drowned. But I think he must see me as she is walking in this light, down from her home to meet us, an orphan herself, but as clear as anything on this Oregon coast. Even I can feel myself as she comes, carried in that wide house between her hips. My mother is a poem I'll never be able to write, though everything I write is a poem to my mother, of whom he said as we were leaving, and your mother, oh, your mother, deep, deep water, the waters run deep. And I thought I would read this. This is from South America Mija, but it's cut in here, so I'll read it from here. This is from my memoir, volume 2. Let's see, it's page 62, and it's about my mother and my daughter. Huh?
Mike can help you out.
I can hold. Thanks for
Okay, you can hold that one. Page 62. I don't know, I'll lose my place if I have someone help me. Okay, here it is. And so, so this is a little account, a little memoir prose account of that journey Sean and I made, and this is what I pulled out of it as being the most important poem, and about what this book is about, this memoir. And there's a little paragraph. To this day, of all the experiences that epitomizes that journey for me, it is the one of descending the coast of Peru and repeatedly seeing my 15-year-old daughter across the aisle from me as my mother. The bus was so crowded with local Indians, we couldn't find 2 seats together. And this is the poem, Quince, which of course is 15. Sometimes I look at you across the bus, Mama. How surprising to see her here. Once upon a time there was a lost little girl, the first line of all your stories as a girl. I couldn't understand you were in my arms in the house I made for you. But mothers of daughters are daughters of mothers, in circles, joined in circles since time began. I've never been able to see my mother. I've never been able to see you, daughter. I met your father when I was 15. My mother's father died when she was 15. When she was 15, my mother ran away from the orphanage. Why do mothers betray their daughters? I have begun to ask this. How can they? If I open to you, I'll open to my mother. I'll open to myself. If I open to you, I'll open to anger against myself, against my mother. My love for my mother. My mother's love for me has been the only love. My mother was an orphan, a girl when I was born. Her love for me was for the girl who died when she was born. I go deaf to protect the little girl inside. I go blind to protect my mother, who has given body and soul, the world, all the days of her life. Once upon a time there was a lost little girl, the first line of all your stories as a girl. That was the first line of all my sister's stories as a girl, too.